It was a crisp autumn morning when I drove up to my cabin resort, the place I had built carefully over years of planning, investment, and hard work. The smell of pine and the reflection of the lake in the morning sun made it feel like paradise. That calm was shattered the moment I saw smoke rising from the treeline. Karen and her HOA had set fire to my cabins. The reason? I had refused to comply with their latest demands, membership, fees, or some arbitrary authority they imagined over my land. Their audacity was shocking, but I had anticipated confrontation, and I wasn't about to let their destructive tantrum go unpunished. As I surveyed the charred remains, a sense of calm replaced my initial shock. Karen and her board had made a critical mistake. They had no idea that I had meticulously tracked their budget and finances. While they believed they had the power to intimidate me, they had just made themselves vulnerable to a counterstrike. I retrieved the latest HOA financial records, which were easily accessible thanks to public filings and a few well-placed freedom of information requests. What I found was a goldmine: glaring mismanagement, unauthorized expenditures, and multiple instances where HOA funds had been improperly allocated. I contacted my attorney and prepared a comprehensive report for both the board and the members of the HOA, documenting every questionable transaction and every violation of fiduciary duty. Then I arranged a public meeting, inviting all stakeholders and ensuring that Karen would be front and center. As the board attempted to defend themselves, I presented the financial evidence. Line by line, I highlighted misused funds, expenditures that violated state law, and budgets that had been inflated to cover personal projects. Karen's face went from smug to pale in mere seconds. The fire she had set now dwarfed by the scandal her own finances had created. The shock was total. Board members whispered among themselves, homeowners gasped, and Karen tried to regain control, but her authority had evaporated. The very act of burning down my property had made her, and her HOA, fully exposed. Any attempt to argue against my claims would now face not only legal challenges but public scrutiny, making their continued tenure untenable. Every dollar she thought she controlled was now scrutinized under the harsh light of accountability. Meanwhile, I arranged for the immediate reconstruction of my cabins. Contractors, insurance claims, and legal filings all moved swiftly. Within weeks, the resort was operational again, stronger and more secure than before. Security measures were upgraded, access controls were installed, and every cabin was documented meticulously. The HOA's attempt at intimidation had inadvertently funded my ability to reinforce both my property and my legal standing. By the end of the month, Karen had been removed from the board, and the HOA was under strict oversight. The members, embarrassed and outraged by the misuse of funds, were forced to restructure governance and implement strict compliance measures. The lesson was clear: overreach, destruction, and intimidation only backfire when met with preparation, foresight, and knowledge of both property rights and financial oversight. Walking through the rebuilt resort, I couldn't help but smile. Karen's fire had destroyed nothing that couldn't be rebuilt, but the revelation of her financial mismanagement had caused irreversible damage to her reputation and authority. She had tried to scare me into submission, but in the end, her own budget exposed her weakness. My resort was intact, my legal standing secure, and the lesson for anyone who thought to overstep was crystal clear. Never threaten someone who knows the law, their property, and their numbers better than you ever will.